I get to live the dream tonight. We're going to talk nothing but DC superpowers from Kenner Toys. We're going to get people started and ready to collect not just the new stuff, but the old stuff as well. And I'm here with my friend and bootleg partner who might not get to join me on next week's bootleg. If there is a bootleg, we'll see. Jay from Geek Dad Life, how are you?
Hello. If there's a bootleg, I'll try to be there. I've been on every one. It's like a Cal Ripken-esque streak.
It is. You're like the Undertaker at WrestleMania.
I want to be on it.
Yeah.
you have to call into it, Craig. That's tradition.
Well, Jay, you and I are going to be in the same place. So
we are.
And just like last night when Abby was like, "Oh, we'll all get together. Ryan, you can call in."
Yeah. Like.
Oh my god. No, this is exciting. This is Ryan's brainchild. As somebody who's new to superpowers, who was always confused about them as a kid, which I was, and I'll get into it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what they were. I think I thought they were fake because I was all about that Batman '89 toy biz. I talked about this on Toy Anxiety last week. Had like a second cousin who had the Superpowers Batmobile, and I was like, I don't know what that blue Batmobile is, but I like it and I want to know what it is. So, yeah, I'm excited about this.
Yeah, me too. I've been a fan of this toy. Similar maybe to you, Craig. I saw and actually I lived in a time where there was still some superpowers on the shelves and like weird, 5 and dime shops, and then there was the toy stuff, right? Yeah, exactly, right. And so I had a few that I bought, and I was like, why are these so much better than these other ones? And it wasn't until the age of the internet, and when I first got the internet in like '97. And I think it was Toy Otter's site was the first one I went to. And I was just like, that's when I became a super fan of superpowers.
Yeah. See, mine started pretty early because I remember being very, very little when they came out. And I remember my cousin who's 1 year older, he had Batman and Robin. And it also was like, what is this? Because before that time, I've never seen a Batman. So again, like my whole introduction, like to a lot of things, even like Ghostbusters, Marvel, like all that kind of stuff, it all came through toys. And so, it's been really wild to like all of a sudden be like now, now I get find these Shell station cards, because that's where I got mine. I got mine at a gas station when I was a kid. Like that's how
amazing.
That's crazy.
I love that.
And it wasn't until again later where also it's like, sure enough, sometimes you'd still go into the back of the toy department back in like '87. You'd still find like Mr. Freeze and just certain characters that were always just in the back, back of the shelves, right? Like it's like even at the big toy, not necessarily the big toy department stores, but again, like you said, I think the mom and pop shops, the one in the mall wasn't a franchise, but it still had like everything you could think of.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I was so confused, because we're going to get into it. We're going to say hi to the chat too. I guess it started in '85, right? So I'm born in '84. So it started in '84. Okay. So it starts in '84, year I'm born. By the time I'm rolling into my prime toy buying days it's 88, 89, 90. And I feel like they're long gone at that point for me. And also, I liked Batman a lot, and obviously summer of '89 was all about Batman. It was Batmania.
Yeah, dude, I lived that too.
God, I want to relive Batmania so bad. Look,
Me too. What a summer!
Because it was Indiana Jones, Ghostbusters 2, and Batman. Like it was just.
Yep.
It was amazing. All talking about Batman. We were talking about Batman all through that summer, all the way to all the fall to Christmas.
And I had every Joker shirt that they made. And I go to my old pictures of me wearing my Jack Nicholson Joker shirts. My favorite is that there's a photo of me wearing Batman pajamas on Christmas Eve, 89 going to 90. I'm wearing suspenders. I have on like the like like a cabbie hat, but backwards kind of. And I'm covering my face. My mom would splash water in my face and I would do the scene, the Vicky Vale scene. And I dare any child born after 1995 to have a cool story like that about any of their bullshit whatever Peppa Pig and all that shit. I'm an old whatever kids like is not what we. It's not good like what we have.
Get off my lawn.
Do you tell your kids that every day when they're watching? I don't know what kids watch now. Fortnite.
Some I do. There's some I adore, like Bluey. Bluey's amazing.
Okay.
But there's some like Paw Patrol can go fuck themselves. I hate Paw Patrol.
Hey Ryan, should we say hi to the chat while we got people rolling in here?
Yeah, sure. We can definitely do that. How do you do this? You start from the
I'll
top?
do it. That's fine. We just click and go. Ty
He's
Deer
gonna have
and
to like quickly go down.
Yeah, you go, Craig.
I'll do
you
it.
go.
Real quick before we do it, we'll say hi to everybody. Steven Lawrence, Sammy Delco, Vinny's here, Henry G, Jason Grahoski, Septimus Prime, Stanley's Toy Channel, Nick Wesley, Thunderhouse Design, Flash, Matt Bush, Casino Skunk Productions, Stephen Lawrence, Zach is here, Tony Taylor's in the house, my wife Abigail Gardner, Ollie Jones is here, Lord Hogfish, Andy Silva, Mechanical Rat. It's hard. Toy Connections is here. You don't want to repeat names.
That's the hardest part.
We'll keep saying hi to everybody, and we want to say like this is not our normal toy anxiety night. This is something we're trying out. Where maybe once a month or every 2 weeks we do kind of a little special, like a very special episodes.
A hyper-focused episode.
A hyper-focused. If you think back to 80s sitcoms, there would always be that one special episode. Who remembers Different Strokes? Bicycle Man. We're not going to get into it, but
yeah, today we have a very special episode of Full House.
Yes,
Stephanie does drugs.
yes. I love it. Tonight's all about superpowers.
Can I just say Batman 8-9 Orphan Dad Life. Dole, that one just it carries with me ever since that fateful day.
Well, It didn't happen. You're still here. Hey, I did. So it's fine. We're all good. We're all friends here now.
So guys, I'm the student. I'm the Muggle.
Yeah.
This is a Muggle's guide. I am not an expert. When I see superpowers, my brain explodes because they're colorful, they're fun, and expensive. I talked about last week. I did pick up Superman, Robin, and a very minty Batmobile. But Ryan, kick us off, man. What is it about this line? Tell me what's your elevator pitch? Why are people who are not collecting this wrong?
Wrong. It's not that they're necessarily wrong. They just might not even know. This is the line that it's kind of funny. Like, just I know Jay's going to go really deeper into this on his channel. He's going to do a history of superpowers. But this was Kenner's response to Masters of the Universe. So when they had Star Wars, which was probably the biggest franchise, but as the movie started to kind of go away, He-Man was really taken over. Everyone looked big and strong and ripped. And sure enough, they wanted superpowers. They wanted to, they wanted their own superhero line. Mego was done. Nobody was buying dolls with cloth soft goods.
Right.
And Marvel and DC wanted to separate from different companies.
Okay.
Because they were all under Mego. And I think at that time, too, they both wanted to separate.
Mego.
Well, in Canada, it was Mego.
Mego? Is that what they said in Canada?
Yeah. Oh, Mego. Oh, that's Italian.
That was Italy. That was in Italy.
Wait,
and it's always,
yeah,
it's always interesting to me when companies make like retro Mego style figures, because I'm like, who's the market for this? That market is completely aged out of collecting.
Sort of.
Even
There's
back,
a few of them left.
Well, even back when Mattel was doing the Mego style Ghostbusters, I was like,
yeah,
who's this for? We want action figures.
Because it was always like the lazy way out. Like I felt like when they would do Migos, like it's super easy. It's a buck. It's some cloth with a different head.
Way you
Boom.
go. Done.
But even
Captain
even
Action,
then,
right?
What's that?
the Captain Action thing. Where
it's like you're just being lazy. Give me the god dang superpowers.
Right.
Which DC Classics kind of was, but yeah, no, it was the answer to that. And I think what people forget about superpowers is they all had action features, and they all and it wasn't just like
that started the gimmicks.
The gimmicks, and they weren't like half-assed, like they all did the same thing. Like they all were related to the character. Like Flash, you'd squeeze his arms and he'd run really fast. Or Superman would
Hawkman squeeze the legs, his wings
his
move.
Legs would just,
Wonder Woman does the defense,
yeah.
right? Like
you squeeze Flash's legs, and he takes in a mother and her kids into a farm, and oh no,
full of guns, right?
Social media.
Yeah. It's great. Oh man,
put a movie on hold, the whole bit.
But it's great because we talk about Kenner, and I think because I'm so Ghostbusters focused, when I think Kenner, I automatically think Star Wars, and then I think Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
But you forget about this. Superpowers was like that was like the bridge to that. Like, especially when you talk about like the Fright Features figures having like actions and all that kind of started and originated with the Kenner Superpowers line.
And I would also say that's one of the first lines where adults were buying them and not just kids.
Yes. And that was kind of my first point about being a collector, trying to find them, is that in my experience, you actually can find really nice mint loose examples because a lot of adult collectors were collecting them back then. And times I can find whole collections and they are super, super mint. Like one just went on sale on Facebook Marketplace in Raleigh a couple weeks ago. Another friend bought the whole thing. But all of them were super minty because an adult collector in the 80s bought them, opened them, displayed them, and then never played with them.
Right.
So you unlike some toy lines where it's like damn near impossible to get minty versions.
There's some toy lines from the 80s where it kind of seems like the evidence suggests kids opened them and then immediately just started dragging them through the mud.
Right?
Exactly. So
and then you're in the position of, okay, well, I need to buy a mint one that's like a beat up card, and then I gotta like open the card, and that feels weird.
Right.
So I to me, as a collector that likes loose figures, I think this line is actually a pretty good one to collect because you can find vintage examples that are really, really minty.
Right. Yeah, and it's weird, as a toy buyer and somebody who's been doing this for a long time. I know anytime I start getting into a new line or show interest in a vintage line, my first thought is, how many times have I just walked past these in a toy store or a toy show or a garage sale, not even thought twice, because I have a very bad habit of starting collecting lines at the worst possible time. So this Indiana Jones and Superpowers, literally the worst time in human history to start both of those lines.
You know what? I think for Superpower, well, I think even for both lines, I don't think there's ever a good time to start that now.
Right.
Like almost 40 years later. It's because they're both they're Indiana Jones, vintage Indiana Jones, because there wasn't very much of it. Has always been high in demand.
Always.
Like, and even when they came out with stuff during Crystal Skull, like when Hasbro was coming out with their 3/4 inch line too, there wasn't a lot. And it ended very quickly too.
Yeah.
But with Superpowers, there's actually a lot.
Yes.
Like there's 3 waves. There's a lot of it. But it's funny because like, again, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but like there's a lot out there. So it's not like trying to find Indiana Jones figures where I rarely see complete Indiana Jones figures. But it's also only 33, 34 figures if you include the Clark Kent mail away. So it's a line where
hold on. There's a mail away?
There's a mail away Clark Kent.
Whew.
And
speaking my language.
So if you include him, it's 34 figures total. And so what I love about this line is it's 3 years, 3 waves, 34 figures. And you can either say, I just want the iconic DC characters, which the first year, you're going to have the most versions of those. So you can usually get that set for relatively not too bad. And then if you're like, oh, I want to go, I'm blanking on his name now. What's the second wave of all? Kirby. If you want to go Kirby, That's kind of where wave 2 comes in.
When the new gods start getting made, that's when things start getting tough.
And that's where I think like maybe not everybody wants those, but they're really cool. And then wave 3 has the super rare ones like Cyborg and
Plastic Man,
and the kind of the weirder ones, but they're awesome. But you can kind of choose your levels here. You can be like, I want the iconic ones, maybe a playset, maybe the Batmobile, and you'd have an amazing looking collection. And then it's like, well, but still, then it's only like 20-something figures to complete the rest, and you can take your time with that if you want to.
I love this comment. Flash always brings the heat. Craig, it's just Superman with glasses and a suit. Yeah, I'm aware.
Right.
Now, when we talk about these 3 waves, obviously, you know, a good rule of thumb, and anybody who's watching this, maybe you're just new to action figure collecting in general. So a good rule of thumb, not always, but most of the time with vintage lines, the last wave, the last releases tend to be the ones that are your most valuable, hardest to find. And the reason of that is normally, and I was going to ask you guys if this was the case with Superpowers, is the line is usually losing steam, losing interest by the end. They're also a lot of the times releasing, you know, they've already put out Batman, Superman, Aquaman, and Flash. So you got maybe your B and C list, not C list, but not your top tier characters. Is that why, you know, the Cyborg figure, for instance, is so much money, or was it a shorter production run? I'm very interested in that.
As far as I know, it was a shorter production run. And do you know, when I say the name Mark Waid, this guy is a legendary comic book writer, and he's told the story multiple times about his days of collecting Superpowers figures. So when he was in college, he was like, he had to finally drive all the way out of state in order to find a Cyborg, right? Because that whole 4th wave was hard to find, and in particular, Cyborg was just hard to find. So I'm actually not sure if he was short packed necessarily, or what, if he was in particular, because it seems like everyone else was able to finish that last wave.
Okay.
But Cyborg seemed to be the one that everyone had trouble finding.
Okay.
Yeah, Cyborg is the toughest, and if he was short packed or not, or they maybe stagger the releases. If our special guest is here, I almost can guarantee they would know. But yeah, really, we'll all of them, all the especially what's his name? Oh darn it! Golden Pharaoh, Cyborg, Shazam is
Mr.
actually
Miracle.
the problem is a lot of them are kind of beat up. And Mr. Miracle are the most expensive out of the last wave, right? Some of the easier ones, and a complete Mr. Freeze can be really tough as well. But some of the easier ones, Cyclotron, you see him a bit. Sometimes he's missing the front plate. And Tier, that's like $70 or whatever. But and Samurai can be a little bit tough. But
I pulled out this old wizard from '96.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cyborg was already then going for $250.
In '96?
In '96, Cyborg was going for $250.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Amazing.
So that's crazy. But we do have a special guest here. I'm super excited. He has things to plug.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
I cannot wait to hear about them. I'm very, very happy to announce we have Toy Otter.
Yeah, let's talk about
wait to hear about them. I'm very, very
You
happy.
may need to mute, I think, the live feed.
Yeah,
yes, hang on.
You're good. Well, so right, let's introduce our guest.
Yes, hang on.
We're good.
So right, let's introduce our guest.
Toy Otter, you got to mute your YouTube.
Yeah, just whatever YouTube you have live, just exit out of it.
We'll give him a second to figure it out. But Toy Otter, Jay, give us the breakdown of who Mr. Toy Otter is before we go back there.
Honestly, I'm a little bit starstruck because, again, I feel like I have read this gentleman's website for 25 years.
Okay.
So, if you don't know, one of the premier people to kind of wax poetic about the toy line, and really, I believe, has the definitive guide, the old website.
And the knowledge.
And the knowledge,
If you're wrong, he'll be able to tell you if you're wrong. Ask Tomart's Guide to Toys, and he will.
Yeah, that's.
So I'm a little starstruck. So very nice to online meet you, man.
Yes,
Awesome.
very, very pleasant.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I can't stay long. Unfortunately, I have a ton of work I have to get done tonight.
No
but I
worries.
just want to pop in and say hello and chat for a little bit. And my partner Bill might show up. He's in a meeting right now because he's on the West Coast, so they're not quite wrapped up. And I'm sweating like crazy because I just walked the dogs and it's over 100 degrees.
No, you're good. Where are you located?
Texas.
Okay.
Oh,
Gotcha.
yeah,
I
that'll
gotcha.
do it.
Texas. It's still very hot. The sun's basically down and it's still 100 degrees. So I wanted to make this, so I made them run around the block, and none of us
There
are
you go.
happy at the moment.
Oh, that's
Well,
amazing. But you're
yeah,
working
we're-
on something absolutely incredible at the moment.
Oh, I'm so pumped.
We are.
Yeah.
And it was kind of an accident. I don't know how many people are aware of my Instagram page.
I think
you
everybody
Well, we
here is
all are.
So the Instagram page is Toy Otter. Really briefly, in the 90s, when I was in college, I started a couple of toy websites, Raving Toy Maniac being one that I co-founded with Eric Myers. And then later on in the early 2000s with Daniel Pickett, we started Action Figure Insider, which is still going strong. I have very little to do with it now. I just help out when he needs something. But yeah, he's still running that great. But the Raving Toy Maniac stuff kind of led me into a career in toys. I was a toy designer for about a decade. Spent about 5 years designing Wendy's toys at the end. So doing all that
cool.
kind of licensed stuff and tie-in. I did a whole bunch of Star Wars stuff for Phantom Menace, which I have a lot of articles out around there. So
speaking our language. I love it.
it was something, right off the bat. Like I said, when I entered, told my boss when I first got hired that I only had 2 goals, and one was to go to Skywalker Ranch, and one was to go to China to see the factories in person, see how it was made. And literally, like a month later, I was going to Skywalker Ranch.
Wow.
And then I went to China on 1 day's notice, and they left me there for months, living in a factory. So
Okay. All righty.
the deadline was so short for the Star Wars stuff, and Lucasfilm didn't let you do anything over email.
Oh, wow.
So I ended up having to live there and teach the Chinese how to paint Jar Jar and Darth Maul.
Oh my gosh.
That sounds very stressful,
Interesting.
but also like what a story.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I don't speak English. I don't speak Chinese.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it was very stressful, but there's no better way to learn manufacturing than being just left alone in a factory to wander around and look at everything. So,
Right.
I got to understand it very well. But anyway, the toy industry was its own thing, and I went into advertising for the last 16 or so years, which is where I still am. But when the pandemic hit and I hit 50, which, at some point I was just like, wow, I accomplished all this stuff right off the bat, and that was all my bucket list stuff. So I literally had no ambition after that. I was like,
I do now.
yeah. And it was like, and you get burned out. I was totally burned out on Star Wars after Phantom Menace. Even though I'm a huge Phantom Menace defender. Let's just get that out of the way.
Oh,
No,
us
you're
too.
We're fans here. We're
you're
fans.
talking
You are
to
an-
the
It was,
safe
I'm
space.
your Jar Jar supporter.
yeah. So and I have a different perspective, but even then I was just so burned out on Star Wars and everything else. It was good to get out of the industry, but there was always that itch, and especially with, I never got to do a superhero line. I never got to do, action figures. So I always felt like I could do it. And I'm very much a huge backseat driver for the toy lines. I've said my piece over the years.
Yeah.
Not saying I could do it better, but just and look, there are huge things that go into a toy line. There's a huge considerations. I hate pointing blame a lot of times because I know it's not always, it's mostly hardly ever the fault of the people making the toys. There's always outside considerations driving these things, and you're fighting. And fighting. And I have a lot of crazy stories on that, dealing with just Warner Brothers, Lucasfilm or whatever, where you're just like I'm trying to make this good. Why are you standing in my way?
Why are you making this difficult for me?
Yeah, it's just
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're sucking the life out of me. Anyway, no. Just kidding. I'm not bitter. Come on. Anyway. So when the pandemic hit around that time, I had wanted to do digital sculpting for a long time. When I left Wendy's, we actually were starting 3D modeling, which was
awesome.
2006. And then I went to advertising. I was like, it's a lot of work. And I just blew it off. Never really pursued it. But finally, because we had time, the pandemic and stuff, I forced myself to learn ZBrush just a little at a time, did the digital sculpting. And so my Instagram page is just, if you scroll down, I just do fake toys.
They're so cool. I wish they were real. I wish every single one of them.
And I don't even need to make this stuff. It's just easy to do fake things because it might as well exist. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like I can make it look real, and that's good enough for me. It's like, wow, I get all that out of my system, etc. And occasionally I can 3D print something. Here's a couple of
Oh no.
No.
nothing anyone has to do. I haven't painted this yet, but there's my Jackson Black Series head. If you wanted a comic accurate one,
Okay. Very cool.
3D print, Star Wars Black Jackson.
Love
This is,
it.
if you guys who know who Brad Meltzer is,
Yes.
author, comic writer.
Absolutely.
So when he just did his latest book, I made him his own superpowers figure. Whoops. And that's on there. He sent out the images. So I 3D printed one. I just have not had time to paint it for him.
Wow.
But
that's so good.
Magnets. So it's fully articulated.
Let's go ahead and share the page. If anybody's not following, I mean, just take a look at this. Tell me you don't need these right now.
Yeah.
I did not make those.
Oh, you did not make those. Okay.
No. So I just ran a series
of these. The ones you've done for like Batman Returns and like your theoretical later ones are so freaking
you've got
cool.
like yours is like a mixture between your work and toy history.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of like there's alternate universe toy lines in there.
Yes.
Of like what almost happened,
like
what
Robin
could have
Williams
been.
is the Riddler or whatever. That's so cool.
So yeah, that was my very first digital project when I was doing all the fake Batman movies. Which I did a series of if Tim Burton had never stopped making Batman movies for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, what would I just extrapolate out past, the rumors?
The Robin Williams Riddler really stands out.
Yeah. And those were the first ones because they were easy. And those are customs basically. They're kit bashes.
Yep. And they're based off real rumors.
Yeah, but a lot of them I did digital sculpts for just the heads.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend who showed me how to 3D print and stuff. We had a 3D printer at work.
Ryan, will you? So I want to show some of the. I'm having trouble sharing again. Will you pull up some of the Batman references that you're talking about so we can share them? Because this stuff is so cool. I want to make sure that there's a visual component.
See what I can
do it as well.
To what we're doing here.
So yeah, so anyway, that's what I did, and so what I'm kind of here to promote, but I'm actually obviously here just to talk superpowers with you guys because I can talk toys forever. Is my buddy Bill and I, who runs Fresh Monkey Fiction, and he's done a lot of like nostalgia lines, like he's brought back Eagle Force, where he's doing a lot of cool homage figures and stuff, and then he's done Amazing Heroes, which are in the Secret Wars style. And I've helped him just do little things like little package tweaks and everything. Or if he needs feedback on sculpts, I've just, given my 2 cents. But we've been buddies a long time. And he saw I had made some indy characters in superpower style just as my next Instagram thing.
Yes.
I worked pretty far in advance because I earlier realized some of these take like 9 or 10 hours to do packaging and sculpt and everything. So I try really hard to have somewhat of a backlog when I start a series, so I'm not just stuck in the middle of it.
Right.
And you see one of my fake Secret Wars down there. So
love it.
Anyway, he saw it, and he had been working with a lot of licensors and stuff, and he literally just said, I think we can actually make these. I think we can get some of these licenses. And now it's actually hopefully going to happen. Like, we still need to fund if anyone wants these, go to Big Bag Toy Store. There we go. And do pre-orders, because if we don't hit the numbers, which is 1,500 per character, those won't get made.
Okay.
So
is there a monitor? Because I feel like I did my pre-orders, but I don't think I saw like a
it's on
meter or something.
Because
What is it?
freshmonkeyfiction.com, and I've got the links in the posts there. So, because Big Bad Toy Store doesn't run counters.
Exactly.
So,
Right.
So there they are. If you click on that and scroll down, you'll see counters at the bottom. They're updated every few days. It's done manually, so we just wait till they give us the latest numbers.
Okay.
And we'll update the character.
All right. So God,
to give some-
Man Men needs to happen. We need Man Men to happen. I really want.
And the pre-orders are staying open till the end of August, so
okay.
Nothing is dire.
Yeah.
But definitely some of them, like Cassie Hacker, Mr. Monster, that a lot of people may not be as well known.
Right.
We're trying to get the word out because we think the audience is definitely there for this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of connecting with those consumers because, we're not running ads. We're not getting a huge amount of press on this,
Right.
that kind of stuff. So,
and I want to give some context around this too, because we did talk about this last week, and Jay, I know you've covered it on your channel. So Longbox Heroes, this is a project of these really well-known independent comic book characters in basically the style of superpowers, which is what we're here talking about tonight. So
100%. They will be completely compatible with superpowers.
So, and what I love is that the Rocketeer, it's like always in my mind, the Rocketeer should have been in this scale as a toy.
Of course, right.
Yes.
Right.
And we only had that stupid Bendy figure. And there's been other companies that have done them, but I'm just like, I just want one that should have been the one that I could have gotten back then. And I'm so pumped about that one.
Right.
And we're working really hard also to make these all comic versions. Like everybody else, Rocketeer comic version has never had a figure, a toy.
Yeah.
I think it's had one statue. But it's always the movie version. And so, of course, the comic version has a different backpack. The helmet's pretty much identical.
Yeah.
But the outfit is a little different. The colors are a little different. Definitely, I'm working off the proportions of a superpowers figure.
Mm-hmm.
But they should all fit in very, very well with the existing superpowers collection. I'm doing 3D prints right now, and I'm tweaking where necessary, but things can always go wrong. But we're trying our hardest to make sure that, anyone who gets these will be very happy.
What I do love, and I did want to ask you about this, is like, how do you capture that Kenner paint look? And I know it's a render, but like even in your renderings, like you seem to be able to capture that sheen, that Kenner quality sheen.
And it's funny because people at toy companies have asked me, they're like, how are you getting your renders so good?
Yeah.
And the short answer is, I don't know. I mean, I'm teaching myself. Like, I barely know how to use these programs. I just learned enough to do exactly what I want to do.
Right.
I don't know enough. If you came and you said, "Oh, can you make his boots look like they're made out of stone or something?" I was like,
sure.
At some point, like I got to go watch a bunch of tutorials. But but a big part of it is like doing the sculpts and as I've done these series. So if you go look at all those Unproduced Toys posts I've done, where I've done a lot of research, some of them I've had to just spend a lot of time on those. But I've talked to a lot of people, and I've looked at the prototypes and stuff, and it's interesting how much of people's personal viewpoint bleeds into the toys they design. So there's a lot of things, not to call it anything specific, but let's just say Attack of the Clones. All of a sudden, they're all like posed. They all have action features. They're all trying to be super dynamic.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not saying this is what happened, but just as an example, that could have been just a designer. So we think of those things as, oh, Kenner or Hasbro made this decision and it went down this track. It could have just been a single designer saying, I'm going to sketch out this very dynamic thing. And someone saw it and said, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then it kind of, or they're the lead designer and that's just their style.
Yeah.
And so that's how we get things like Total Justice, is it wasn't necessarily someone saying, I'm going to do these crazy things, or I'm going to do this, this answer to McFarlane, which is what it seemed like at the time. It's just someone saying, this is the style I sketch in, and that's how I drew it, and it got approved. and now we're doing them all in that style.
That's wild because it's like when I remember Total Justice, like it, like because that was like the first time in a long time we were getting the Flash, but it definitely looked like the Flash was based off Mike Warango. I think I said his name right.
Yeah,
like, and you could see the Tom Grummett style Robin, like
and a lot of that too. So they get style guides, and Grummett had done a bunch of style guides. I used to work with Kerry Gamble, if you know who Kerry Gamble is, comic artist, but he was amazing, and he did a bunch of DC style guides. So there's like a Joker that looks almost just like his drawing. But a lot of it is to get back to your point about the renders and everything, and doing this because I have gotten feedback from people saying, "Hey, I'm looking at certain new figures coming out that don't look like we think they should look."
That sounds like everybody I know.
Do
you instantly regret this whole project once you start getting those comments?
No, not on mine. Not
It's
on
other
my
people.
toys. Other toys coming out. They're saying, yours are looking like superpowers, and there's other ones that, not to name them, but don't.
Right.
And a lot of it is just there's nothing nefarious. It's just the person doing it might not be as keyed in. If they were not superpowers fans, and glancing at them, they feel like, well, this feels about right, and this feels about
right.
So part of the render, part of these, I'm spending a lot of time. Like I bought doubles of most of the superpowers and primed them all, so I can see what the sculpts look like.
Awesome.
Gotcha. Wow.
So I've got a prime Mr. Miracle and a Shazam and all these ones people don't want to think about me painting.
Yeah.
Not a Cyborg because I'm not rich. But and I got them, they were fodder box stuff or relatively cheap because it doesn't matter if they're all beat up. I'm
sure
paint over them. But it lets me really see what these sculptors were doing on the details. And even like this, like looking at some of these sculpts, I need to go much deeper with the details. Like that's why we put all these are not final, because when I get to the engineering part, I'm going to be tweaking everything. When I get to the 3D printing, I'm going to be tweaking things.
Sure.
But I'm literally trying to match what Superpowers did. And if you look at Superpowers, and again, there's this knock on Secret Wars. People look at Superpowers and they're like, well, they're all basically the same. There were a ton of different sculptors who worked on those. Some sculptors only did one figure in the line. And that's it. They might have done a bunch of Star Wars figures, and then they're doing just Shazam.
Yeah.
And
interesting. Yeah.
Especially when they're primed, or you look at the wax sculpts, they look very different from each other. The proportions are wildly different. Yeah. Like line them up and look at like where all their knees hit, and it's all over the place. All the heights are all over the place. The body styles. So you have a huge variety in all that you didn't get in a lot of lines. And that's what we're trying. So you look at the Goon, and it doesn't look like I just grabbed a stock body. He's going to be basically 100% unique tooling.
Yeah.
They're going to be very expensive. That's something else. The price is slightly higher than we would have liked.
Sure.
But if we
that's just toys, though. Like any collector like that's one thing that drives me crazy. Like if you're a toy collector, you unfortunately in 2020, 2022, it's just part of the deal. It just is, and it's like
especially right now, everything that's going on is none of it is cheap.
Right.
And the only way to get them a little less expensive would have been to like do a Kickstarter, and then you guys know how some of those end up. So
sometimes they go through, and you still never get what you
This way, at least if it doesn't go through, Big Bad Toy Store is giving your money back. I mean, or they're not even taking your money up front. These are just like commitments to buy. So we have the money, pledged to spend tens of thousands of dollars on tooling.
But the thing is like, I feel like $25 is still pretty darn reasonable.
It's what a Super 7 would charge. And we're doing basically the same thing. The other thing I'm going to tell everybody right now, this may not be the case, but with the way we have limited licenses, because thankfully these creators are amazing, and we will probably not see a dime for this. They will see a little bit, but it's not a big payday for anybody.
Sure.
So this is definitely a labor of love, and we can get away with it too because I'm basically free. I'm doing all the sculpts myself. I'm doing all the packaging myself. I'm doing all the design work myself. So there's no out-of-pocket costs in terms of that.
Yeah.
And I started this last October. roughly September, October. So it's just a big time commitment, but that's okay because it's a passion project.
Well, let me ask you this, because
Yeah.
it feels like, so obviously you love superpowers. You have a passion for that
Sure.
line. You have expert level knowledge of that line. Why do you think now is the time? Like, what is it about that line specifically that is hitting peak nostalgia in 2022? Because it's interesting that, like, we know McFarlane's doing their thing that has people really hyped up, but obviously that's been in, toy. They've probably been working on that for a year, maybe more. You just said you've been working on your stuff for a year or
So
2
I
years.
can tell you, no, that's not true.
Okay.
Okay. I did a very, very, very slight bit of consulting at the very beginning of that.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna say when, but let me tell you, mine was in production far, far longer than theirs was.
Interesting. Okay.
They really hit the ground running. And it was just saying, like, here's a bunch of materials and here's some groundwork. I didn't work on anything, so I want to make sure that's clear. But I was aware of it. I was aware that this possibly, because things don't materialize. I know a lot of toy companies who are sitting on licenses and lots of sculpts of stuff that never come out.
Just never happened, right?
It's never happened. You never hear about it. But luckily, this is actually happening, even though they haven't officially announced it yet.
And they're showing up in stores.
It's in stores.
The line's gonna be canceled before they announce it.
But it's
what a convention I think I saw on Toy Shiz. They have a
I
little
saw
banner
that.
for it.
I saw that weird little like card table, and I was like, "What is this?"
I don't know.
Yeah, and they just had the logo there, but again, no figures. But then they try to act like they're gonna surprise us.
So weird.
It's very strange, and I had heard at one point because I kept asking, "Hey, are these actually happening? Are these coming out?" And someone had told me, basically, they just might show up on shelves, like we don't know. Not someone at McFarlane, but someone,
Sure.
So
and that happened.
And that happened. So I was surprised.
That's what happened.
When was the last time? Can you imagine someone not connected to the internet who just walked into a Walmart and saw these on shelf?
Yeah.
Well, that's what was happening almost.
Yeah,
it was kind of like
pictures. It was like, wait, I guess it's here.
Yeah. So, but the funny thing is, I got a little conversation about those, that was a possibility. At not far after, a friend at Boss Fight showed me some of the in-progress Power Stars they were working on, which was huge. When I saw that, I was just like, oh my God, you guys have nailed this. This is amazing.
Yeah, Boss Fight does some great work, and they're kind of under people's radar right now still.
They're amazing all the way around, and they still do contract work for other big toy companies and stuff, but the Power Stars, I'm really hoping do well and they carry on because they have a lot of cool licenses. We're trying not to step on any toes, not to double up on anything.
Right.
But they both told me this like independently, and I was like, I can't talk about this with anyone. And at the same time, I'm actually working on a superpowers base.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking all these are going to hit at the same time.
But that's great for me.
Yeah.
It's great for everyone
It's
because
great for the consumer. Yeah.
it was a selling point. Like when we were developing this line, like I said, it was a very long process for just me and Bill to develop this. And it was a selling point to people we were telling, you're going to have an instant collection. Between these three groups, it's not just like one wave coming out. Within a year, you're going to have an X amount of figures.
Yeah.
So I think that helps. I think that hopefully will fuel each other's things, and they'll. I'm really hoping the McFarlane stuff is big. Those vehicles are unbelievable. I will say
they're great.
They are
$20, like it's unreal.
Perfect. They did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping they do a big push. I'm hoping these are successful because I think they will blow it out like the 7-inch if the sales are there.
Right.
Absolutely. I was saying the same thing earlier too, where it was like, this is for parents that are just walking into the toy aisle looking for something to buy their kids. These are great toys for them to jump in on, because if they're $10, they look pretty good. Like, I mean, if you're going outside of just what we expect as superpowers enthusiasts and collectors and lovers, like just to get these for your kids, I think these are a great jumping on point, because I was saying earlier before you hopped on, superpowers was my gateway drug to superheroes. And this could be the same thing now for another younger generation.
Yeah.
And I'm always surprised by McFarlane's, just not that I want to keep talking about McFarlane, but just in general, their price points seem to be, they keep their prices lower than the big guys, and they seem to have stuff on shelves in a pretty timely manner. And
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
I'll tell you.
That's a good question because
Oh.
you have industry experience. Like what could be
I'll
the
tell
difference?
you,
there?
I can almost. There's two reasons, and I again, I don't know this for sure.
Okay.
But I would bet a lot on it. Number one, they're a very small company. And so when you're dealing with a Hasbro or Mattel or even a Spin Masters, you've got overhead. You've got all these people to pay for. You've got this infrastructure. You've got multiple offices. So, well, it's just you need money. So we used to talk about with Hasbro where I would, back in the 90s, if you can imagine when I was very young and angry all the time and go to Toy Fair and grab people by the lapels. And I would say, like, why are we getting 400 variants when you have this rich history of DC Comics or Batman animated? Why don't we have every character? Like, why is this? And the answer was basically Hasbro can't afford, they only can get home runs. So if you're going to make a Batman, so it's a Batman in green versus a Harley Quinn, and the Batman in green sells 10 more figures, we don't care if Harley Quinn, everybody wants her. That 10 more figures is going to pay someone's salary. So basically, we just want home runs. So we're going to make the figures that keep selling. So ultimately, I think that kills the line because you don't have depth of character. You're just getting variant after variant. And thankfully, once the 2000s hit, we see a direct market. We see a lot more, this collector focus coming into focus.
Right.
But that's a big part of it is I lost my train of thought.
No, you're good. We're just
McFarlane is smaller versus
so that's
a lot
it.
more.
So it's they don't have to have this huge margin to pay for everything. So they're nimble enough to say, this cost me $8 a figure to make, plus distribution, plus whatever, plus taxes. I don't need to take $9 on top of that. I can take $5 on top of that and still make a ton of money. Like they probably are much more profitable relatively than the big companies.
Yeah.
Right.
And they sell a lot. And then they can move very fast. They can have a better idea of here's the quantities we want. They keep in touch with all the retailers. They can see where things are moving. The second thing is Todd is king. And that you don't get that at companies. You don't get that at corporations. You have layers of everything.
Right.
So if he wants to push something, whether it makes money or not, they can push it. Like, look at his sports figures, which for a long time was just him saying, I want to make these figures. So you don't have that really at these companies. You have shareholders, you have all these other things that people are looking at these balance sheets and seeing again, the profit margin. Go here. What's the loss? And you saw a lot of that. I'm going to go back to something you were talking about right before I came on. So those are the two things. That's why McFarlane, I think, offer things at a lower price point and get things out there and do it quick because it's very decisive. Boom, boom, boom. Keep moving. And if something's not working, they can switch gears super quick. Whereas at a bigger company, there's a lot of machinery going on.
And with McFarlane too, he's very focused. Like you said, like McFarlane is king, and I've heard him in interviews. I've heard him on podcasts,
for better or worse, right?
Just even about comic books when he's starting Image, right? Like hearing like Jim Lee talk about him, Rob Liefeld, any of them. He's very
he's a very smart guy.
Yes,
and he's a very smart businessman. I've talked to him at conventions and toy fairs over the years with AFI. And very nice, very personable, but very finger on the pulse. I mean, he knows what he wants, and what he wants aligns with what fans want much of the time.
It's true.
So
you're
don't
not wrong.
have that filter. Every other company, I'm telling you, especially when I was starting, it would drive me nuts that the majority of the people I worked with, this was a job. It wasn't, I like toys or I want to make this. It was a job they got into for whatever reason, and they may think stuff is cool and they may like to do it, but they had no idea what they were making.
Yeah.
You know, it
I
could
work in
be
a
any
similar
kind of
industry,
wisdom.
so I understand.
Yeah, and so it's that way across the board. So you just think of all these people at all these levels making decisions. They're making decisions based on here's market research. They're making decisions based on this is what a mom said. They're making decisions, you know. So it is great when you have a Mezco, another company where you've got a king at the top whose decisions are the decisions, and that's kind of it. And Mez does what he wants, and sometimes it really hits big, and sometimes you're just like, wow, these are really interesting. I'm not sure who they're for. Well, they're for Mez. Like he wanted to make them. I mean, that's kind of it. And there's something very admirable about someone who is definitely putting their money where their mouth is. Brian Flynn at Super 7 is another one, you know, who just wants to make cool stuff, pushing it. So
it's amazing that a company like Hasbro or Mattel, like that, it's even more impressive when they do something that the fans really connect with, right?
Yeah. And I think the stars just have to align. You have to get the right people on there, the right account people. I think Marvel Legends, for the most part, has really been hitting cylinders for years. Once they clicked around 2015, 2016, they really got it. This is what the plan is. This is what the characters are. This is what we're doing.
And then there's Star Wars.
Yeah.
But even like you were saying, like, yeah, you're right with Marvel Legends, like, because when Hasbro first got it from Toy Biz, it was like a rocky road. Like, it was like the figures were they did not look good. I was wondering why are these characters, what's going on? Because it was just it was like a splash of cold water after Toy Biz. And tried really hard.
It's, the Toy Biz guys who are, a lot of them are still working in the industry, are just the best. And I will say, you know, I did not always look at this stuff and think like, this is how I would do it. Especially in the 90s. You know, I would just be like,
their superheroes line, DC Superheroes, was amazing.
So, well, not that. That's old Toy Biz. That's for Avi. That's we don't even count that as the same company. But but even the stuff like, and I used to explain to people the difference in the 90s is you have toy guys and comic guys running the companies. And it's all changed. Now it's all fans. But back then it was very few people who had grown up playing with toys. You know what I mean? Who stayed fans, comic collectors, who went into the industry. You started seeing that in the 90s. And the toy guys still came out of this engineering manufacturing background, and they were making toys. And so the toy lines, superpowers, Ninja Turtles, everything had a consistency to it. Because first and foremost, the toy line was the thing, right? So you want all the toys to be together. It's a collection. Then you get comic guys, and comic guys were like the guys who came in Toy Biz, where they grew up with this system of comics where you followed artists. So, you know, think about how Marvel DC had that big schism in the 60s. Is there was a house style at DC, and then Marvel was a Steve Ditko, a Jack Kirby, a Neil Adams, you know, then you get the
Romita
80s, you
Sr.
get John Byrne, and Romita Sr., you get, you know, George Perez, all these guys who had very distinctive styles. And it doesn't matter what book they jumped to, the style went with them, right?
Yes.
So Hulk doesn't always look like Hulk. In one issue, he looks like Sal Buscema, and one issue, he looks like Dale Keown. And, and it's crazy. Well, that's what Toy Biz basically did. It's like you can put this Hulk and then the next Hulk next to each other, and they look nothing alike. They're completely different scales. The anatomy is all crazy. It's because they're saying our artists are the sculptors, are the line designers. And we're going to get guys like Art Adams to come do control art. We're going to get, you know, guys, sculptors like Phil Ramirez, who's amazing, to just go nuts. And they're not going to say it needs to fit in this box.
Right.
Like,
you definitely saw that in the late 90s for sure. Because like when I think about that, the X-Men line specifically, it was like these ones started to look similar to Jim Lee, but then now we're starting to get into that Joe Mad era where all of a sudden now everyone's hair is big and flowing, and everyone, you know, it's
huge hands, huge feet.
Like Gen X style as well, and you know, Generation X figures look completely different.
Part of that was bringing guys like Digger at Art Asylum. You know, again, someone else who they just said kind of go nuts. He was very suited to go nuts on those. And And so there wasn't a consistency there. If you looked at that as a collection, especially now, go back and look at the 90s toys as a collection.
Yeah.
And
I
you
just
look at
turn
something
around.
look at something like Playmates, where I recently rebought a whole bunch of the Star Trek just for some reason.
Mhm.
Because
now
you had
need 'em.
$5 and got 1,000 figures.
It was a cheap line. I think I'm missing one figure, and I
So
put
cheap.
it together in like 4 months.
So many accessories. It's ridiculous trying to keep up.
And
with
they're all in a box. What goes to who? They're all different colors.
Right.
But you look at those, and it's just homogenized across the board. There's something
Mhm.
very cool about that. And then you
Yeah.
look at, again, even Marvel Legends, one figure to the next, even if they
Yeah.
shared parts, were wildly different because
Mhm.
they were going for this very big expression of a artistic,
Right.
nature.
Yeah.
So then they went to Hasbro, and Hasbro said, "Oh no, everything has to have a consistency, and it's going through our house style." And it just took them a while to figure out that's not the kind of line. Now everything has very much a style. Part of it is parts reuse.
Mhm.
They start getting these bucks. They use them for everything, and they pick and choose where they can add new pieces because it
Right.
costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all do look that you're right. That same style goes right across the line. So it doesn't even matter what era it is. So even if it's the John Byrne era of X-Men or the Romita style of Spider-Man, you can still tell that's the era, but it all still matches that same aesthetic of Marvel Legends.
Yeah. And it hit a sweet spot. Once they figured it out, once it all kind of got evened out, I think it's just a phenomenal collection.
Yeah. It's
I don't know
true.
where it's going, but
Absolutely.
I think it's just amazing.
Yeah.
We had one question at the beginning of this. I kind of want to rewind to steering back to superpowers a little bit. And I was trying to, you'd probably know the best answer, but Cyborg, was he short packed in
So
the?
that's what I was getting back to way back when I said, "Oh, you said something when I was coming on board, and I never got around to it."
It's really easy to get to toys. You start
go
one
on
place, you end up somewhere else. It's
Yeah.
I love that you were like, I got like 10 minutes and it's been an hour.
I know, and I got a lot of work to do tonight. But this is why I don't come on podcasts. Not I'm not antisocial. I'm a tangent king.
We love it. It makes our jobs way easier.
This is awesome.
There's nothing worse than having somebody on and you're like, question, one word answer. Question.
Yeah.
one word answer.
Yeah, not me. That's why on the websites I was never the face of the websites. I was just off in the back doing my thing. Okay, so two things. I'm going to give a quick plug.
Okay.
Up front. So my buddy Blake Wright has a new magazine coming out called
Toy Collector. Yeah.
And he
Very
did
cool.
the Toys That Time Forgot books.
Yep.
So I'm going to be contributing here and there, but I am working on maybe a superpowers article, maybe
Ooh, that's
Maybe-
Oh,
maybe interviewing a bunch of line designers and stuff.
Ooh,
So
very
cool.
hopefully that's going to have be a definitive kind of history of it and have some unseen information.
Oh,
Love it.
There's still more out there.
there's still
No
more.
more
Yeah.
out there. Not a ton. Don't expect. And for people who don't know, because you see these everywhere, but me and James Sawyer broke all of the prototype news in 2004.
Yeah. I remember it was like a vivid memory of like that break. I was just like,
I got a CD
Yes.
in the mail. He told me this stuff over the phone because
Uh-huh.
a Kenner designer had come in and sold off a bunch of stuff and said, "Oh, and by the way, I've got all these old slides and everything." And so he went and got slides converted to digital back in the day and sent me a CD. And I saw that and I was just like, it took like months to figure out what everything was. Like we had to do a ton of detective work and talk to a lot of people because. So you can still go read it. It's still online.
Oh, it's
a very
Oh, I go
lengthy
on there
article.
at least once a month for the last
Yeah.
20 years.
So I will say there's a couple of things in there that aren't correct.
oh, okay.
Oh.
I'm not gonna tell you what they are now.
Oh, okay. So we have to get the magazine, everybody.
The
magazine.
You're
Gotta
gonna
buy
have
the
to read
issue.
the article when it comes out.
Oh, this is so exciting.
But going back to that, so there's the plug that in the first few issues is probably not going to be all in one issue because he's just giving me as much space as I need to tell what needs to be told.
Yeah.
But going back to the Cyborg thing, so the line got canceled in I think August 1985. which was a little over a year after it hit shelves.
Yeah.
The Tower of Darkness was in production or pre-production in '84. So this shows you how far.
Wow, really? That early?
So yeah, I've seen all the paperwork for when the line got killed. Now, partly what we were talking about, how great Superpowers was, and they're all different. Part of why I think it got killed, and I'm hoping to find a definitive answer, but I'm pretty sure it was just an incredibly expensive line. You see almost nothing that has those pinless knees. The reason they have pinless knees, there he is because they have ABS upper legs that are 2 halves, so you can see the seam down the front.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's because of the mechanism. So you have all these unique sculpts. You have a kind of expensive license.
Yeah.
Tons of advertising. DC really wanted Superpowers to be a thing, so they had tons and tons of partners. There was a lot of money the companies themselves were putting out. Don't go to this page.
That's a bad thing. Gotta go to Toy Otters.
The site is unfinished.
All right. No worries.
Yeah. So I started
That's
that
one
in
of the visuals.
7 and never. I got it half done. So it's half
That's
done.
fine. That's fine. We're good. We got what we needed.
Yeah. So it was a very expensive line with the mechanisms and all this unique stuff, right? So I think when the first year sales came in, they basically said, and Kenner did this a lot. Again, you look at my series on Unproduced Toys, there's a huge amount of Kenner stuff. You're just like, wow, they sculpted entire waves that no one has seen, or just pitches like this weird Planet of the Apes thing where they just internally did full wax sculpts. Like they did paint masters, they did castings, they did all this stuff, and it never went anywhere. So they were a company that liked to bet big on that kind of stuff, on development, which is really cool. But at the same time, they had no problem just turning stuff off. You saw it with Star Wars too.
Yeah.
86, 85, they had all these pitches. They had droids, they had Ewoks, they had complete second series of everything. Tremendous amount of stuff that was going into production. Like some of them were already in production, and they just said, nah, let's just turn it off.
Stop the presses.
Right.
Stop the presses. And that's literally what happened on Superpowers. So if you think 85, Wave 2 maybe just hitting.
Yeah.
Wave 3 a year from coming out.
Yeah.
Plug gets pulled. Wave 3 is in production. Tower of Darkness was about to go in production. It had been tooled, everything. Obviously, it's on the back of cards. The Terrain Trapper tooled everything on the back of cards.
Yep.
So I'm sure a lot of kids were just like, where is this thing?
Where's my fucking
So
thing?
they're advertising it. It's out. So
And yet the jogger made it. The Justice jogger made it. Like how? Like what's
Justice
that?
Jogger,
Tragedy.
right? I think a lot of it is just luck of the draw of what went into production where. But it was also a cheap item. So it's easier to say we're killing the line. Don't put the $60 playset on shelves. Put the $5 Justice Jogger. And get some of that money back. But anyway, so it gets killed while everything is in production. So what happens is that third wave, you might have had, I'm just going to guess because I don't know which numbers are which, but let's say Plastic Man and Mr. Freeze get a full run. But all of the others, especially Cyborg, are just stopped. So it's just like, stop what you're doing, put your pencils down, and that's how many we're shipping. So there's a low run on Cyborg because they just stopped production. And I'm guessing he got the lowest run because he was vac metalized. So they may have done a lot, just stopped it at the vac metalization process.
Yeah.
Which I've got, there's videos out there. I took one at a factory once that I probably should edit and put it up there. But basically what they do is they mold all the figures. They put them in this vacuum chamber. So they spray them with some stuff of varnish. They put them in a vacuum chamber and they put these little metal oxide pieces and they adhere to them. It takes a long time. So vac metallization is expensive because it's extra steps. Also, the whole figure is ABS because PVC can't handle it. So that's why they don't have knees. They're more brittle, is because they're all made out of a more brittle plastic.
Yeah.
Right.
So for all those reasons, they probably just said, stop the Cyborgs. He's expensive.
Right.
Get out what you need. Looking at the plans, what they had coming, obviously he was going to be in the next wave in the Power Plus using those pieces. So I don't think it was anything like let's short pack him. I think they were going to do a big Cyborg push. It was just luck of the draw which of these got short packed.
Wow.
It's very interesting.
And the other thing was Kent was supposed to be in the final wave. We've seen the package samples of Clark Kent. You know, the first wave had the mail away of Steppenwolf, and then he made it in Series 2, and the second wave was going to have mail away of Kent, and then he makes it in Series 3. Carded. Why he didn't get in there, who knows? But again, it could have been, oh, well, not a lot of people sent off for him. He might not sell. Let's just kill it. Yeah, so there's the Power Plus Cyborg, which is just basically a backpack. It's the exact same figure with a new torso. So he would have reused the arms, the legs, the head, same process. And that was a way for them to get, obviously, more money out of this tooling, refresh the line. You look at Wave 3, and I'm sure they were like the sales, before the sales were going down, there's no heavy hitters in there. If you're someone coming to this not knowing DC Comics,
true,
and you see all of those Wave 3 characters, you may say, oh, I know who Plastic Man is.
Yeah.
But see, but that makes sense why you would then start doing this with Robot Superman.
But that's kind of what that is. That's what they pitched. They said, we need to bring back Batman and Superman. We need to bring back some of these heavy hitters. And someone made the idea, the decision, well, let's do this Power Plus, which kind of was what Dark Knight ended up happening with.
Yes, because this looks like something right out of Dark Knight Collection.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's a way to bring those characters back, which they had never done before, like variants to that extent. So
yeah,
that's kind of what that was.
And for my own knowledge, so I'm just trying to put the timeline together. Does Kenner, do they lose the license, or do they just give it up, or does
no? They just said it's not selling. Bye bye.
And then
Batman happens just a few years later.
Right. Okay.
Crazy.
I do have one really quick question. This could probably end up being part of the magazine, so if it is, you don't have to answer it. I will just buy the issue.
Yep.
The Lois Lane fashion doll line, was that still going to be called Superpowers?
None of this was Superpowers. So
Got it.
These slides, and I see this. You see this a lot. Again, Joe Marks, not pointing fingers at any one source of really bad information that was never true.
Right.
All of this was the pitch to get the license. So, and there's actually, I'm saying all of this. That's not true. I kind of just threw this in there. At the bottom, you see some Wave 1 concepts. So Hall of Justice carrying case is a Wave 1 concept. You see the mock-up for the Tower of Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so these are real concepts once they had the license. But even then, I think, does that say 82 on there? 83?
And Ryan, will you make sure you drop the link to this site in the chat?
If you guys don't have it by now, I don't know what to tell you.
Stop it, Ryan. You cannot know. The whole point was to educate tonight, not criticize our
Those
viewers.
just gatekeeping nonstop.
Yeah. So the pitch stuff was just where they could take the DC license. So you have Green Lantern, you have Batman, you have Teen Titans, you have Lois Lane. It was literally saying, you have a great property. There's all this stuff we could do with DC Comics.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once they landed the license, it kind of just coalesced. Well, why don't we just make a universal line? Like it doesn't need to be broken into sublines.
Mm-hmm.
We can just make Superpowers. They came up with Superpowers, which I don't know if anyone knows. Superpowers is a co-owned copyright / trademark by Marvel and DC.
Oh,
Interesting.
Very
I don't know when
interesting.
that happened, the 60s or 70s or something, but they both own it.
Very weird.
The
They
phrase
both can do
superpower-
it. There could be Marvel superpowers.
Well, it's the phrase. It's not the trademark for the toy line. At some point in the 60s or 70s, and they either came to an agreement or something. I'm sure it's on Wikipedia. But the words superpowers are actually shared by them as a descriptor for comics and stuff.
Okay,
so
that makes
someone
sense.
probably figured that out and said, hey, why don't we just call this superpowers? They've got the action feature, which is a huge part of selling.
Exactly.
DC
Right.
on the license was doing the action features.
now these Teen Titans, they're dated 1986.
That could have just been projecting we could do these in 1986.
Oh, got
think
it.
the
Because
art
everything
is-
else,
is-
the art itself is all also dated 82.
And see how that one says 84? It's the same series. So I think they were just saying we could start with these two, and then by 86 we can be doing the Teen Titans.
Awesome.
Yeah, because that one probably says 85. So if you look
Yep,
at
you're
the,
right.
the 3 in a row,
Yep.
that's just my guess. You know, again, the artists would sign and put the year a lot of times, but some of the artists didn't sign some of these. I think that was just up to their personal preference. But this is just all pitch stuff. This is really cool, neat stuff, but none of this was, you know, might have been revisited, but I don't think this went down the path that far at all.
Right.
This is
Lois
really,
Lane
really
line would have been
fascinating
just
stuff.
incredible.
Yeah.
It kind of, honestly, it kind of blows my mind that it was done. They were done with it within a year almost. And
it's crazy. And again, you know, not to toot my own horn, but I'm going to do it. You know, I wrote an article again with James Sawyer about all the unmade Secret Wars figures.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the other thing of, you know, people say, or everyone thought, I don't say people say, I thought, everyone thought for some reason they released 3 in Europe. You know, Iceman, Electro, Constrictor. But those were really going to be 3 out of the 5 next wave. And they just hadn't tooled Hulk, and Mystique was the other one, crazily enough. But the only reason they went there is, again, the plug got pulled during production, and they had a very short amount made. So they just said, what market can we throw these in that this will fill that market? Because there wasn't enough to put them in the US. So that's the only reason they went to Europe. But it was the same kind of thing of, we're just pulling the plug in the middle of a production. And everything else goes away.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh,
but I guess, I mean, this is a time when, you know, like you said, Batman 89 was a couple years away, and then obviously Kenner got right back into the DC.
Well, they kind of had to wrestle it back, right?
Yeah.
They were like, don't let Toy Biz have it, give it to us.
Yeah, I don't know the full story behind that, but I think it very much was we've got muscle and they don't.
You know what's
it.
The way
even their
nostalgia
ads
goes,
for Toy Biz 89, it was a repainted Superpowers Batman.
It's and that's a weird thing. I don't know if that was how that was worked out, because DC could have said, we own this. Like DC, like you see with McFarlane, DC owns Superpowers. Kenner didn't own Superpowers.
Yeah. Yep.
So DC.
Oh, that's right. Because I was wondering, I was like, how
anywhere?
Okay.
So they could have said, and Kenner had already licensed out those molds or sold them or whatever to Estrella and Gulliver and all these places, you know, in South America. So they could have just said, hey, we're going to base these on Superpowers to get the ball rolling, because they're obviously cast and resculpted. Like, they got recast. The knees are different. The mechanisms are different. So somebody
all worse.
Well, and that's what led to my confusion.
They have a charm.
Like, when you look at Mr. Freeze and you know, and Penguin and all that stuff, like, my 5-year-old brain couldn't make sense of it. But
one was
like
awesome,
said,
and the other one's cheap.
It's really strange, because I don't know what the thinking was, but between wave 1 and wave 2, obviously, either they internally said, okay, now that we've had some time, let's sculpt our own.
Yeah.
Or Kenner or somebody saw those and said, we're going to let this slide, but it's stopping. It's not worth suing a tiny company like Toy Biz over, especially they want to work with DC. So it could have just been hey, this isn't kosher. You guys lay off.
But you know what I find fascinating, or at least the first Toy Fair article for Kenner getting the Dark Knight collection or getting DC back, is they took the Toy Biz Batmobile and put a little roof on it as like their picture for their Batmobile.
Well, so that's nothing out of the ordinary. And again, you look at the little series I did, because you'll see that pop up a lot. It's just kit bashing.
Yeah.
You see it, the early Star Wars stuff. It's taking whatever's on the market, and this is mocking it up while we have time to develop the real thing, because we have to get materials out there. So that's not unusual. And I mean, they kit bash their own stuff. I had sent someone a picture, because they asked for it when I was doing this, of the second or third wave of Batman animated, and Poison Ivy is a repainted Wonder Woman in all the promo shots and the catalogs, you know, because she wasn't sculpted, and Killer Croc is a WWE figure.
Oh wow,
hilarious! Oh my gosh, I now know. I see it now that you said it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He's doing the whole thing.
Yeah, and
Holy
it
shit.
looks weird, and it took me a long time to realize what that was because I thought it was some just weird mock-up, but it's a WWE figure slightly sculpted and repainted.
Funny.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
But then they did their own stuff. So kit bashing is
It
just
happens.
an industry standard, and at the time especially, no consumers saw the Toy Fair stuff. No consumers
True.
saw most of, like, the Toy Biz stuff is really weird because it's like, we're going to put this on the back of our packaging.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
normally it's just going into trade materials or
Yep.
solicitations or,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
didn't have an internet, you didn't have toy magazines. So it was kind of like, we can use whatever we want. You see,
Mhm.
you just, again, you saw that a lot.
Yeah.
And in fact, the early superpowers were kit bash Star Wars figures and Mego figures.
Oh
Right.
wow, really?
Wow.
Yeah, they took a Batman pocket action or comic action, whatever they're called, the little
Yeah,
squat
yeah.
guy, and they
Oh,
put a
yeah.
mechanism in them for the pitch, and Tomarts ran pictures of that, and that's real.
Fascinating
Wow.
stuff. And talking about the nostalgia piece, it is interesting that we're in a time now where everybody's looking back 25, 30 years. It probably never even crossed Kenner's mind. And maybe if I'm wrong, somebody correct me because I am the uninformed one of the group of these topics, but they didn't try to relaunch superpowers in the mid 90s in any kind of meaningful way.
But and that goes back to what I was saying about personal preferences of designers.
Mhm.
There are a lot of people who didn't like superpowers. They didn't like Secret Wars. A lot of people didn't like Secret Wars because they didn't play with them as a kids. They were already in their 20s when superpowers came out. I was in high school,
Mhm.
and they were almost not on my radar. I gave up toys before I went into high school. Middle school, I stopped collecting Star Wars and everything, and had to rebuy all these ones behind me recently. And it wasn't until I was in college that I even saw superpowers, where I kind of had an awareness of them.
Mhm.
And I was with a friend at a flea market in like 1990, and we found a Green Arrow, and we were just like, "What? There's a Green Arrow?" And we found Dr. Fate. Like, our minds were blown. It took a long time to find a third series card back, and that's why I even started my website originally, the Superpowers Archive, which I started before Roving Toy Maniac, because it took like 2 years to find out what was even made.
Yeah.
What came out,
Right.
because again, Hour of Darkness never came out, but how was I supposed to know that? I was
Right.
looking-
You're looking for it. You're out there.
Yeah.
so
And
Well,
we've
I was
all been
looking
through that
too.
as collectors,
I made
Actually, it
that
was even
website in
recently.
95. Yeah, to
Mhm.
basically because I
Yeah.
was like, I want to put this information out there because it was such a pain to find out.
Yes. And
Yep.
but that's where I thank you for doing that, because I think for us as collectors, and it was a similar type thing. And I think back to early Ghostbusters toy website, all those early toy archive websites
Mhm.
that kind of like we only had these cross sells to like try and base our histories
exactly.
off of.
Yep.
And, it
And
was
then
good.
we got, Toy Fair Magazine and Tomarts and
Yeah.
all this stuff. It became a thing, which is good.
Right.
But going back to Craig's question, there was not a ton of love for people going into the industry for things like superpowers. I don't know why. At
Mhm.
one point in the early 2000s, DC Direct actually toyed with bringing it back. And I've seen
Mhm.
some of those mock-ups.
Right.
They didn't sculpt
Interesting.
anything.
I remember a small clip in a Toy Fair magazine where they kind of hinted at it, where it was like, it was just a blurb. There was no photos, no nothing. And it
Right,
was just
and
them, like one paragraph going, DC Direct is going to bring back superpowers. And ever since that has been waved in front of me, that carrot, it's just always been like, just give me that. Just give me Nightwing now. But
Yeah,
give me,
well,
you know.
and again, it's like you're seeing, I think Super 7 did a huge thing, and NECA also is doing this too, is you would see things like Funko Reaction, which personally drove me absolutely insane, because when those came out, they were saying, you guys are going to be blown away. These look just like old Star Wars figures. Because in their mind, that was what old Star Wars figures were. And I think Super 7 was one of the ones who started showing people, and of course you're seeing this now across the board, we don't want something that's kind of like those figures. If you're going to bring back those figures, bring back those figures.
Yeah.
Like, again, hopefully you look at the sculpts I'm doing on Longbox Heroes, I'm trying really hard so that these feel of a piece. They're not going to look exactly like it. I'm not working in wax. I'm not as talented as those guys back then. But you want to look at that when they're all painted and everything and put in your collection and not feel like they're out of place.
Yes.
Like that is the big thing. And
that's what I love about Longbox Heroes collection is it truly feels like that. And you can tell this is a passion project.
Yes.
Because unlike any other thing that I have seen that's trying to evoke the look and feel of superpowers, this is the one that feels the closest to it. I'm really excited for
Thanks. And again, everything's going to get tweaked before production.
Sure.
There's still a ways to go. I think I have, you scroll down, you have some look at the cards. We're trying not to make these look just like superpowers in terms of like we're copying the line. Like, again, you see a lot of custom Star Wars stuff or any custom retro stuff. Everyone bases it on like Star Wars cards.
Right.
It's be nuts because you look at action figure cards from the 80s and they all look completely different. Yeah, so this is more or less what they're looking like. I'm still tweaking the designs, but we just want to kind of give a little bit of a nod to superpowers without copying,
without completely copying it. It's still its own thing.
What I love about it is anytime a line, like when obviously we're in a time in toys where retro is everything. Every company's doing it's a retro, it's a throwback, it's a re-release, and we've had so many discussions on the right way to do that, the wrong way to do it, what our preferences are. I love this because, first of all, anybody has a passion project and is putting this much effort into it and this much love and care, it's inspiring, right? But the fact that it can be a companion in scale to a beloved toy line, to me, makes it like a home run, like completely fun. And like the whole point of toys is to play with it. You're using your imagination. It's cool to see these types of characters in that scale, on the shelf near your superpowers, while the McFarlane ones are all an inch taller than everything else.
Getting Goon in and Rocketeer and Madman is something we kind of like myself who reads a lot of comics. We've been waiting for toys for these characters, it feels like, for like 30 years now. Right?
And I'll say again, the creators have been absolutely phenomenal to work with. Really, really, really have. Especially Jennifer Bauckham, who's Dave Stevens' sister and runs the Rocketeer Trust.
Right.
Who, when we suggested, can we take a couple of these characters that have just been talked about in the short stories and actually flesh them out, the Black Phantom and the Onslaught Trooper, because we didn't have a lot of villains in this line. Because most of the indie characters, the iconic ones, are the heroes. And we wanted an army builder, and they were all for it and have been super supportive. And the response has been really good. So we're happy with those. But I'm gonna have to leave in a second. I know.
No, you're good. I want to make sure everybody knows where to get these things.
Yes.
So this is exclusive to Big Bad Toy Store, which we're all familiar with.
Big Bad Toy Store. They're pre-orders right now. They're going to pre-order for about another month and a half. Like Super 7, we cannot guarantee that we're going to be making tons of these, especially if they just hit their numbers, which we're hoping they at least hit their numbers. So they may be made to order, like the Ultimates. So if you want them, please don't wait. Pre-order.
Right. And if you're looking to make more villains, you just got to get on that Dick Tracy train.
Bill and I actually kind of pitched a whole Dick Tracy line a few years ago, and the license is tied up. So that's
like a Disney Warren Beatty thing or something.
No. Another toy company has it tied up. It's a license. I hope they do something with it.
It's Playmates. We're about to get Dick Tracy versus Ninja Turtles figure. I know Playmates. Real quick, I know you got to run, Mr. Toy Otter. We do have a one. By the way, we haven't been able to highlight a lot of comments, but the chat has been on fire.
Oh,
people
really?
Are really loving.
I forgot even people were watching this.
Isn't that fun? It's kind of scary. People have absolutely loved this conversation. The knowledge is incredible. But we did have. I wanted to go to Damn Dash. He says, "Got my Longbox Heroes pre-ordered. Any chance we might see some other heroes and characters that never got enough love, like the Phantom, the Mask, Green Hornet, and the Shadow?" Obviously, it's always hard to comment on future projects, but
I'm going to say a general comment. One, the Phantom boss fights, already making it. Looks like superpowers, Power Stars. Go pre-order it right now. It looks unbelievable. They're making Phantom, Flash Gordon, Ming, and Thun, the Lion Man.
Very cool.
I'm hoping they make a whole bunch more because they have a lot more licensed properties under their wing. So, yes, we would love to do the Shadow, Doc Savage, all the pulp characters. We would love to do that. Big thing is Wave 1 has got to sell and fund.
Right.
If there is, we can do a Wave 2. I'm not saying I have over 30 figures already sculpted.
Oh,
But I'm not
gonna say
saying
my Scud the disposable assassin senses are tingling.
So, and we have, originally this line way surpassed our dreams. This first wave, because we thought Bill had worked with Mike Allred before. We might be able to do Madman. We might be able to do Mr. Monster, and then we'll do 1940s Daredevil and public domain figures, Black Terror.
Right.
Because they're out there. Because we can do that. We can do the sculpts.
Yeah.
And amazingly, that we would be doing Goon and Grendel is just mind-blowing to me, and has just been absolutely a dream.
And they're long overdue.
So I will say, if we continue, I think Wave 2 will knock everybody's socks off.
Playsets. Excuse me.
And we would like to see, and I'm not going to comment anymore on any characters, but if you've thought of a character, we've thought of the character.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
You're way ahead of it.
Wallywood's Thunder Agents. We would love to do all the Archie heroes. I mean,
oh my God.
Oh, you just hit Ryan's special
Yeah,
button.
you did.
A huge untapped market, but again, we still have to do the licensing. I'm remiss in not shouting out Bill Murphy, Fresh Monkey Fiction, my partner, who is 50-50 part of this and has been doing all the licensing stuff, working with Big Bad Toy Store, doing a lot of the manufacturing, groundwork. So while I've been sculpting and doing all this, he's the guy who's been making the magic happen and getting these licenses and putting everything together. And it's just been, again, a dream.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you've made it just to get it to where it is near impossible. So like I said, the passion that you guys are putting into it, the hard work, the sculpts are amazing. People are excited about this stuff, and we'll keep pushing it and promoting it. And
you have a really solid reputation.
Thanks.
Like as someone,
I don't know
how. Again, it's just I think it's from just starting off and what you reported on everything again with superpowers. Going back to it, like for myself, and I know Jay's included in this, you were like the go-to for information because everything was organized. Everything you did it in such a professional way that, it gets you excited. It gets you a little heartbroken of what we didn't get, but at the same time, you put it out there for us.
Right. But that's important, right? Because fantasizing about like the what could have been is a part of this. What we do here.
And that's kind of what solidified the toy collecting passion, right? Because it was the transition from a kid buying toys to, I remember these toys like, wait, what? There was unproduced whatever? And then it's just like that nerd brain just gobbled up the content that you were putting out there at the time that just kind of made the mythos around these toy lines the reason why we collected them or we're so passionate.
And there's that whole like mythos behind it too about, like I said earlier, like Mark Waid going out and collecting them, Alex Ross going out and collecting them. These guys in the industry are legends in their own right. And I mean, they talk so highly also about that toy line that, again, like I remember just being like in my early 20s and Alex Ross is in Wizard magazine with his glass showcase customly made for superpowers, and it's just
just superpowers. It's not
just
near
superpowers.
Just superpowers. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can tell that influenced his art, and it's so good. It's so good.
Very cool. I love it. Well, we're gonna wrap up here in just a couple minutes anyway. Toy Otter, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll have to. Yes. I know you said you don't like doing this, but you're pretty damn good at it.
Sorry, this was such a brief visit, but
no, right, no.
Time to spend.
No,
this was great.
We got more than I could have ever asked for from you.
Incredible.
And I am incredibly thankful that you answered my DMs when I slipped into yours.
Thanks for that. I'll be honest. I saw that at the very last minute. Like I've been working all day and talking to Bill about stuff, and I suddenly realized that thing I told you about last week. They want to do it tonight, and I think in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
So, but no, I again, thank you so much, and it's again like the to me this is like having a celebrity on because
Yeah.
again, you've been such a huge impact on my collecting
Same.
and my knowledge of collecting and finding out, okay, there's photos of this. Is it real? And I've always been able to go to you and be like, okay, I see box art for the Fortress of Solitude play set. How far along did it go? Nothing. That's a mock-up, right? I can go, wait.
And I will say, and thank you for all that, because a big part of the original the website, the articles, everything was, and in work. And one reason I got out of the toy industry, because it was just heartbreaking a lot of times, because I've always wanted to do the best, to do it right. I don't want to say the best job, to do it right.
Right.
So if you're going to write an article, if you're going to make toys, you're going to do whatever, go all the way. There's a lot of, and again, not pointing fingers at any specific companies, Mattel or anything like that. But there's this kind of thing of like, it's 5 o'clock, let's go to happy hour, like the work is over. And
we did it. We're done.
I mean, that's kind of what it is. And that's just different cultures or whatever. I'm about to work till 2 a.m. on a project for work. But that's just my nature is, it takes the time it takes. You do the job you need to do for that.
Yeah.
One reason I was able to break all this news is because people brought me stuff knowing that I was going to do the research, write the article that needs to be written, do all of that. And so it kind of feeds into itself. But the same with toys. Again, look at Todd. Look at Todd McFarlane. Look at what he did in the 90s and how he shook up the industry, because he basically said, I don't think anybody's doing it right. This is how you do it right. And I'm not going to approve a sculpt if it's the 8th round. I'm going to approve a sculpt when you get it right. You know, there's all these stories with a sculptor saying he would just kick it back, and they would just slowly understand what Todd was looking for. Push the envelope, push the envelope, push the envelope. Always.
And at the end, he was like, now that's Dr. Evil.
Yeah.
We did it. Put on my baseball. Anyway.
But yeah, but you get what I'm saying.
No, 100%.
They always come back. I thought McFarlane was over at a certain point. I thought like, okay, we've seen the
so did I.
peak and down, and boy,
you know what? I do think like I've been back and forth on the DC multiverse line, but I really like his Batman 66 line. I think it's a great line of figures.
A fun little line.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think if you are coming to this like I'm a new collector, I'm a new fan, I'm a new collector, and you find the multiverse, I look at what he's pumped out in just 2 years.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So if you're that person, you're the happiest collector in the world. And it's not slowing down. And it's movies, and it's comics, and it's TV, and it's everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I can't fault it. It may not be, I'm not collecting it. It's not for me.
Right.
Which it does,
Yeah, I'm
but
not.
Yep. Doesn't need to be for everyone. Superpowers, that's for me. Okay, guess what Todd's doing now?
That's for me. Yeah, I'm with you on that. My only concern is we're not going to get Superpowers Black Canary, because for some reason these worried little boys aren't going to
well, I mean,
buy women, but we'll see.
Yeah. But a friend of mine is all in on page punchers. That's his scale. That's what he likes.
That's interesting.
Excited about those. Not for me, but this, low price point gives you a comic to get you in. I'm sure a lot of moms are going to be picking those up for kids.
Stocking stuffers. They're perfect.
There we go.
Yeah.
Right.
The other thing is Black Canary. If you haven't seen it, there's an Instagram account, Carter the Conqueror. Guys helped me a lot with ZBrush sculpting and everything, but he's been doing his own fake superpowers, and he just did a Black Canary and a Black Hawk and a Vixen, and they look amazing. So I'm giving that a huge shout out.
Very cool. Check that out.
Instagram, Carter the Conqueror. Very cool stuff to follow.
Very cool.
So on that note, I'm peacing out. Thank you guys.
Have a wonderful night.
Thank you so much.
We're gonna hang out for a few more minutes. Good luck with everything.
Thank
Good
you.
luck,
Yeah,
Longbox Heroes. Check them
I would
out.
love to
Check
talk
out
to you
Twitter.
again when all the Longbox heroes get released.
Yeah,
Oh,
There you go.
yes, let's touch base again, and I'll give you guys updates. Keep watching the Instagram as I get the 3D prints done. I'm going to start showing them off with the superpowers and everything, and secret wars and different toy lines, so you can see how they all stack up. But we'll keep everyone in the process.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Woo!
yeah, really
I
nice.
love that. That's Ryan's wheelhouse right there.
So
It
cool.
is.
Have a good one,
Awesome.
guys.
Take
Take care.
care. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Well, that was fun.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
Dude, that was
Let me get the hose out. Let me separate you two.
gosh.
The thing is, they say like don't meet your heroes, but like holy crap, like just like the mind meld, like just the knowledge is incredible.
There
like,
was
it's
a
there.
part of tonight where all of a sudden everything kind of was just a hum in my ears, and I was like, "That's Toy Otter, right there."
There he is.
I can't do this. But Craig's like, "Share the link. Leave me alone."
Share the fucking link. You want to host the show. Sometimes you just gotta fucking host it. No, that was incredible, man. That was good.
Yeah, that was
He-
great.
the-
He's great to have on.
Yeah, he's great, and the wealth of information is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I know, so I mean, I don't even know where we might have to do a part 2. Maybe we'll do. Maybe this will be an ongoing series because I just don't even think you can. Let me do this because I did want to talk about the Hall of Justice before we got out of here.
Yes,
'Cause I think
it's
it's
the
a
year of
really-
the playset. It's the year of the playset.
It's the year of the playset. So Jay. By the way, if you guys don't know who Jay is, will you please plug Geek Dad Life while I get some...
Sure. YouTube.com/geekdadlife. And Craig and Dole have guested many a time. I've been called a homewrecker because I've had maybe Dole on more than Craig, but Craig will rectify that.
Yeah, but you actually let me host once, which is insane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you
So
did great.
that
and
counts as 5 times.
People say the second debate is one of the greatest things ever on the channel. So,
Well, you know, the debate was the origin of I think all of our
Yes.
friendships and
Yeah.
and our you know, I was talking to Jake and Ryan about this. I kind of feel like we're in like V2.5 of toy YouTube.
mhm.
And there's like kind of a different energy. I think it's a
Mhm.
more we're as critical as anybody, but I think
Mhm.
there's always a little bit of a tongue in cheek, always a little bit of a self-awareness,
Yes.
but still kind of pissed off all the time. I know I am. So
I think that's the energy that they're for toy tubing, especially. They're toys, so
are
like there needs to be saying that it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to, and to take it as yes, you can call bullshit on things, but also
Right.
it's supposed to be fun. So like it needs to have that.
I
Needs to be
mean,
both.
those Ninja Turtle Stranger Things come with waffles shaped like throwing stars. If that's not fun to you and you still don't want them,
funny.
I think you're the problem, and you need to have a popsicle,
Right.
and maybe be happier.
I will say I'm excited, Craig. Your first San Diego Comic-Con experience. Oh my god.
I'm gonna die.
You may.
I'm gonna
You
die.
may.
At first, like 2 weeks ago, I was like, there doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot of exclusives I want. And then like now I'm just like, ugh. Mattel's gonna actually have stuff in the booth.
Are you
Hey,
gonna-
here, I'll put it this way. If Mattel does not announce a Mattel Creations crowdfunded Masters of the Universe Origins Eternia playset, then it will be a failure of a Comic-Con. Or if they announce it at
An entire
PowerCon.
failure of a convention.
Yes,
like,
they've let down the
flat out.
entire city of San Diego, the Padres, the Chargers.
Yeah,
Ron
the entire
Burgundy.
state itself will sink.
it is at sea level there. But I do want to say, Craig, I'll be lining up preview night. So if you want to come with me and wait in line to do the mad dash for exclusives, it's the best day to get exclusives.
What time do you get in line for preview night?
So I think preview night starts at 6 or
Yes.
7.
Yeah.
I have a crew, and you should have this as well. I think it's there's a line for pro badges that's different from the regular line.
Okay.
So I usually get there 3 hours early, 2 hours early, but don't worry. just if you get there an hour too early, you can just cut in with us.
Okay, cool. Well, listen, we don't have the pro badges. We have the press badges. I don't know if we get our own entrance or not. Probably not. I don't know what we have.
Maybe.
We'll find out.
I think press still says professional on it, so I think you'll be okay.
All I know is it'll be me. Unfortunately, Ryan won't be there. We're gonna miss you, but you'll be there next year.
Craig didn't want me there.
Stop it! I've been asking
He
you.
said
I've been
I overheard him and Jake being like, "Fuck, we don't want that Dole there."
No,
he's gonna complain about the room.
I got Mad Hatter a badge, so I got him a badge to come down. So if you need a badge, Dole, just let me know.
Why didn't you say that like 2 weeks ago?
You can't. Real quick, guys.
Well, when is it? It's in 2 weeks.
It's next week.
It's next week.
You know what? Let's figure something out.
Oh God.
Craig's like, damn it, Jay.
No, you don't think guys, listen, it's going to be part of, we got AJ Quick. He's going to be there. He won't say
I'm going to go there as part of Geek Dad Life, though. Hi, this is Ryan Dole reporting for Geek Dad Life Toy Geeks. I'm here in line with, looks like we got the Yes Have Some crew at the back of the line. They can just stay back there.
I call into their show sometimes.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, real quick. We want Ryan, whatever you got to do to be there. And I only have a couple minutes. But I want to talk about this Hall of Justice real quick.
You need it is the answer.
Yeah, I do need it. Where does this rank in the pantheon of 80s play sets?
It's top 10.
Top 10.
It's easily top 10.
I don't know if it's necessarily. It might squeak into top 5, but if not, it's got to be around 6 or 7.
Yeah, it's mid. It's mid tier. It's mid tier in a top 10, like 6, 7, 5 ish. Because
okay, keep going.
It is especially for when it came out, which was 1984. And
right.
The primary colors are amazing, and just the different play areas that you have. You have the trapdoor. You have a jail cell. You have a computer terminal. You have a real storage.
You have a small area to put Aquaman to train for swimming.
Yeah, exactly. It's right up there, and you have this cool door. You have a helipad.
Yep.
You have an elevator. You have like different.
They have the computer console where they can all chill out and have lunch together.
Yeah, they can sit and check their email.
They could say to me, that's my favorite part of the play set. I think that's super cute that you can have them all sit there and just go, "Hey, let's just play Pac-Man here for a bit."
It's time to play.
It's time to play.
No,
it's a carrying case as well. I don't know. I think it's
and it pops. Like, look at this thing. It just pops.
It does pop. Pops. And I feel like much like the 89 Toy Biz Batcave, which was pretty. I mean, I got the 89 Toy Biz Batcave with the box complete for $30 at a garage sale in Raleigh, North Carolina. But this thing used to be like $100, then it was $150. Now we're looking at loose $300 to $350 complete.
Seriously?
It's going up.
Fuck.
It's going up. What did you guys get yours for? What did you get yours for, Jay? Do you remember?
I
don't want to start any domestics.
I've at toy shows I've bought a few complete and sold complete. But the thing is, I'll say this a few times now. Superpowers,
Jake. Yeah, it's the top 5. I'll take 3.
With there's just some toy lines that I would recommend patience. Because if you pay attention to Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, or whatever, or even
just
toy shows, you can get a deal on superpowers. Especially if now it's like $350 on eBay. I guarantee you, there's some toy shows where they'll still sell it to you for $100.
Right.
But if you see a guy there with like 3 Shazams, and a bunch of carded figures, don't expect a deal. Well, he probably knows what he has, and he's probably going via eBay.
This collection of superpowers that just sold in Raleigh or the Raleigh area, I missed out on it, but another toy dealer friend picked it up off Facebook Marketplace, $40, 40. The entire collection, including Cyborg.
Well, listen, that's insane.
I still only paid $5.99 for Wonder Woman. Also,
this is what I call a crayon playset, because every time I see one, some kid has decorated the front of it with red and blue
the back.
crayon.
The reason for that, the back is like one of those stencil things where you put a piece of paper and you do the crayon thing. That's on the back of the case.
Okay,
yep.
so
that's easy to get off though. Like mine had that too.
Yeah.
I got mine at So as everyone knows, I grew up on a farm. The farm across the highway, in their old barn, they turned it into an antique store. When he was closing it down, I just happened to just because he was like, "Oh, come check out the store before we leave," kind of thing, and he gave me two things. One was a binder that was full of like patches and iron-ons and letters, and just it was
Binders full of
just
women. Sorry.
No, of
Classic
vintage
reference.
Star Wars fan club merchandise.
Okay.
Ooh,
So it was all like, even all the stuff said "Revenge of the Jedi," like all this stuff, right? Like,
okay.
So he gave me that, and he also gave me the Hall of Justice playset because he knew I was big into comics. So I actually got my I scored a deal. So what you need to do, Craig, is find someone who's your neighbor who also has an antique store.
As a farm across
farm across the way. Come on.
Well, listen, guys. I think tonight's been a lot of fun. Thanks again to Toy Otter.
Yeah.
I feel like we barely scratched the surface, so we might have to revisit this.
Yeah.
Very soon for a part 2.
He's already messaged saying he's down to come back. So let's
also once I haven't found them yet. So maybe once we actually have them in hand, the new McFarlane ones too.
Yep. We'll have to revisit.
And Craig, what's next on your list? Is it getting the Hall of Justice? Is that like your next,
Well, I need to get Batman first. Because I've got Robin and Superman, so I need to get Batman, and I'm just taking it slow. I'm not in any rush to complete this line. Find some at toy shows. One thing I love about this line is a lot of them don't have accessories, which kind of makes it fun. I mean, I know the capes can be hard and all that stuff, but I think
But again, you're going to a convention, a big one. You might be able to find a lot of what you need there. And don't forget to change your location in Facebook Marketplace when you travel, because
it's true. That's true.
Yes.
Maybe I'll go to the toy store.
Deals.
In San Diego, there's a toy store. Yeah. Toy. I can't remember what it was called. The toy store in San Diego where I got the thing.
Oh, from Shaolin. Yeah, you've already forgotten who hooked you up.
No, I know Toy Shaolin got me or found the Filmation Ghost Command, but I can't remember the name of the toy store. But maybe they have some superpowers. The possibilities are endless.
Probably. And most toy stores have them. Most toy shops have them.
Is your collection complete?
Mine is complete. My last figure was Cyborg that I got it in 2015. It was the last one I needed.
But
I got it.
Update, I just have to outlive Jay because in his will he said I get to have a Cyborg.
Did he?
And
it's my living will does have Cyborg going to Dole. He called dibs.
I just called dibs.
And I will say, just real quick, I started a Whatnot, and I already listed the things on Whatnot, but Dole's calling dibs on shit on there. I'm like, just go on Whatnot for $11.
Ryan does that.
Yeah,
I bought a new hot toy, and I bought a X-wing or a snow speeder Luke hot toy. He's like, I got dibs on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're gonna flip it eventually. So.
Of course. Well, listen. So this is what we'll do. We'll continue this conversation very soon. We're almost at the 2-hour mark. Anybody who's watching, please like this video. Please share this. This information. Spread the word about toy anxiety. Spread the word about YHS. Spread the word about Geek Dad Life. Ryan, I suspect you might end up in San Diego next week. We'll see. You're gonna have to talk to Jay. And I hope you do. And to everybody in the chat who got us to the likes we needed. Abby
69 likes was the goal, and it was incredible.
And here we go. Now,
do we have it? Do we get to see it?
Yeah, you are.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yes. Please.
Okay.
I gave you a line.
Here it is.
Yeah.
That's just from the chat.
You earned it tonight, chat. Thank you.
There you go. The chat was amazing tonight, and I really thank you again to Toy Otter. That was so much fun. Thank you, Abby. It's way more fun when it's planned, and I don't have to, have a little spasm.
Yeah, no.
And I blame Geek Dad for making it. The one time Abby goes, Geek Dad's like, well, I really like the Jar Jar thing, and then I had to hear about that every day of my life.
Yeah.
It's because it's real, it's visceral, your reaction is real, and it's good TV.
Yep.
And
I
by the
agree.
way, if anybody has not seen Toy Anxiety last night, there was a moment where a bug was on me, and
Incredible.
it was pretty
And-
wild.
Yeah.
It was
Can I
pretty
also
wild.
do a pitch for Extreme Toy Anxiety for only $5? There
Yes.
is a new segment that was on last night's Extreme Toy Anxiety, which arguably, again, if you talk about just seeing a sheer terror in Craig's face, it happened yesterday in Extreme Toy Anxiety.
You know what?
Just put your $5 and
$5
enjoy.
to the YHS Patreon, and you can get in the after show where there
You
was a
can
new
keep your
segment
$5.
called. I don't remember what the segment was
Was
called, but it was
Craig, or it had a
Stump
lot of
Craig, because Abby
Stump
was
Craig
showing me
with his own
pictures of my own
collection.
toys. What
And
can
I just have
say?
one last plug.
Yeah,
as well.
go for it.
I'm starting my own podcast with my friend
Woo!
Lexi. It's gonna have it has its own channel, the whole bit, Gotham City Tonight, and we're gonna be doing stuff like this where we just talk about Batman. We're gonna be first episode's gonna drop on YouTube on the 22nd.
Right.
And we'll be going live, and then after that, we'll be on Wednesdays, and it's going to be a little later for you East Coasters because we're going to be starting at about 7:30 our time, so that'll be about 9:30. So it's going to work like a late night talk show, more of a kind of a vibe.
I love it.
And
I'm super excited about that.
we're super excited to do it, and thank you, Baducci, for that wonderful logo you made for us as well.
Yeah, very
It's a
cool.
good logo.
Ryan, you're about I think 3 months away from saying the thing that all of us streamers and podcasts say is, why do I keep adding shows? Why do I
it
keep
could
doing-
happen.
Tom Whalen in the chat, artist extraordinaire, tuning in super late. What's the bug count in this episode? Nope, just no bugs tonight.
Not even
Thank
Blue
God.
Beetle. We didn't even
Not
see
even
Blue
Blue
Beetle.
Beetle. Jay, we will be seeing you next week. Ryan, this was incredible. I learned so much. And thank you again to Toy Otter, and we will see everybody next time. Subscribe to the
guys.
channel. All right. I'm
Thank
gonna play the
you.
music. There it is.
Yes, maybe.
All right.
Right.
Muggle's Guide to I know so much more than I did 2 hours ago, and that was the whole goal.
Yeah, that's good.
But we didn't even talk about why the Canadian ones were at gas stations. We're gonna have to get to that next time.
You know what I forgot? You know what I should have asked him? I should ask if Longbox is going to do Canadian exclusive short cards.
Ooh, there you go.
That's gonna be at the old. We got the. We don't got Big Bad Toy Store.
No,
We
it'll be
got
at Petrocan.
super-
We don't have the Shell stations anymore, so maybe Petrocan or maybe at the Esso there.
at the supernicetoystore.com.
You know,
Hey.
co-op. Co-op has some good gas, I hear. You know?
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.